Is one of the world's largest tech companies, but it's had a low-key presence in Silicon Valley until this $300 million campus opened in 2015. Let's check it out.
This design is about connecting people, and the design started as really two separate buildings, and then we ultimately landed on this idea of these two-story bars that would connect the building on both sides and really define this courtyard space. Originally, this courtyard in one of our initial designs was actually rectangular. The curves weren't here. It actually came together in sort of hard edges. We actually ran a computational script and looked at what a typical day would look like on an office floor. Looking at how many calories each employee might burn and how many of their colleagues they might see. And what we found was that by studying that, if we began to round these corners and actually create two-story spaces behind these curved sections of glass, that improved people's visibility and actually drew them out into those spaces and allowed them a greater opportunity for collaboration.
So how many calories would I burn working at Samsung every day?
Probably just in the course of a normal work day. I have to remember what the script said, but it was between 700 and 800.
Does this space help with productivity?
It does. There are a couple things that are happening here. First of all, you'll notice that you're getting a view in natural light from both sides of the space, which is important. There's research that's shown how natural light and views help people focus and process information in a more effective way than if they're in a more closed environment.
So right now we're in one of the main workspaces of the building. It's sort of an open two-story design with the desks all along the outside here and then a main staircase behind me that connects them. The architect tells me that the goal of this was to sort of get people up out of their desks, moving around, and then just also to be able to see people and see which of their colleagues are free so they could go have a conversation. Have you actually seen people connecting and having these impromptu meetings, or is that a sort of goal that isn't playing out in real time?
I think it was a goal, but I've actually seen it and I've experienced it myself. And so, for example, I have lots of meetings all over the building from any point during the day, and I'm always bumping into somebody from another department, somebody in my organization, and oh yeah, and by the way, and you sort of find yourself having these by the way conversations. And so I think the design of the building really facilitates people to get up and move around a lot, and then that's where you have those encounters.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed there's a lot of walking around. I feel like I've even done a fair amount of walking around this
I think you
space.
can get your step count up to about 10,000 without leaving the building during the day.
From here you can really get a good sense of the building design. You can see the public area down below, the first floor of closed office spaces, another open air walkway, offices, open air walkway, and then the top of the building. And really what you're seeing is the office's commitment to getting people outside. With the public area below and the open air floors here, no Samsung employee is more than one floor away from being outside.
We wanted people to get up out of their desks and move and actually get out of the building. And so rather than having the cafe actually inside of the building, we consciously pulled it out across the public space. So rather than this being kind of more of a typical cafeteria, we wanted to have it more of a dynamic and lighter feel. And it goes back to that whole idea of encouraging people to come and spend time here and potentially engage other workers that they might not normally see during the course of the workday.
Employees can choose from around a dozen types of global cuisine, prepared fresh each day. And then there's the other perks on campus. Tennis courts, full court basketball, a gym, a garden, massage rooms, a coffee shop, and the chill zone. So this is the chill zone. There are foosball tables, ping pong tables, arcade games, sports playing on the wall back there. Basically, there's a lot of not work happening in this room, but it's pretty fun.
Having this right here in the heart of Silicon Valley allows us to compete very well in that war for talent.
And is it working?
Absolutely. I think if you look at some of the Glassdoor scores and other metrics like that, I think we've made some great strides in the last couple of years in terms of having a very open and collaborative environment that we've created here for our employees.
Do you think other companies in Silicon Valley, other tech firms, will create spaces that are more like this?
I think they're going to have to, because the younger, say, creative talent that these companies are targeting, that they need basically to survive, are expecting spaces like this. I think companies will, if they want to continue to attract that talent and stay ahead of the curve, they're going to need to consider, ideas like this and spaces like this.
Oh, and also, there are these things called nap pods. I gotta try one out. I guess I kind of want to go to sleep. Not bad.
Please have a seat. Good morning. Thank you, miss.
Talking to Miss Sabrina, right?
Yes, that's me.
How can I suppose to call you, Miss?
You can call me Sabrina, miss.
Miss Sabrina, please introduce. I am Mrs. Celine. I am the third chairman of this company.
Okay, nice to meet you, miss.
Are you prepared for employee interview today?
Yes, of course. I'm prepared, miss.
How would you know the information about the occupation opportunity of this organization?
I read an advertisement on a Batam Post newspaper released on Monday last week, and I feel I'm really excited to it.
Well, okay. So, what made you interested to apply on the position of administrative staff in this company?
I'm interested to apply as the head of administrative staff due to my capability, and I feel that I'm capable to get that position. Besides, I graded from Business and Management course with cum laude 3.70. Not only that, I also have skill and experience to promote my ability.
So, how about your skill? Could you tell me about your skill?
I have served the management project skill, and I'm really tech savvy. I able to organize things both paper-based or only based, and I also able to work in data, number, or coordinating with other people. And I like to watch and work on documentaries.
Very nice. How about your experience? Have you been on any company counter at administration staff before?
Yes, miss, of course. I had worked at the different company on the same position for about 3 years. However, I resigned because my office was too full. I need to work in a closer office to my house.
How about your dialect and language? Could you talk different language and dialect?
Yes, I can speak Japanese and Chinese.
Wow, that's very intriguing. Where did you learn the language?
While I was in school and university, I took a course to explore learning English. Basically, I'm really interested in language. They are very unique.
Great. I can agree more with you. Anyway, do you have quality and shortcoming point? Tell me please.
Of course, my main quality is my skill and experience. Besides, I also have greater thing that is my spirit and my responsibility in doing something. I additionally love to learn different and new things. My shortcoming is about my fearness of height and darkness.
How much salary you expect to receive every month?
I'm expecting my salary to be around $800 to $1,000 every month. I do realize that I have a lot to prove in this company. If I can prove myself in a good way in the next couple of months, I believe my salary is going to adjust itself.
It was amazing time to meet you and talk with you. I thought you are that we are looking for so far. I agree that you are fitted top of this position. I will call you later after all the measuring bodies settle on get choice. Thank you very much for your time, Sabrina.
Well, miss, may I ask something?
Please.
How much time this company needs to inform to me the result of this interview?
As soon as possible. Maybe at the end of this week, we will send you email about the result.
Thank you, miss.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, miss. Good morning, Miss Celine. Please have a seat.
Good morning and thank you, miss.
My name is Sabrina. How are you doing?
I'm good, but a little bit nervous. How about you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. Well, are you ready for the interview, Miss Celine?
Yes, I'm ready.
Please tell me about yourself.
My name is Celine Hasugian. Please call me Celine. I'm 22 years old. I'm single and fresh graduate. I took business administration as a particular subject when I was at university. I'm a hardworking woman and disciplined. I am responsible for job and I'm friendly and humorous person.
Where did you know the job vacancy, Miss Celine?
I read the newspaper yesterday. I saw that this company has opened the job vacancy for administration staff.
Why do you want to dedicate yourself to an administrative staff?
Actually, that is my obsession and one of my dreams to be an administration staff in big company. Then the position is suitable for my major when I was at university.
So, do you think that this company is big? And how do you know about this company?
Yes, of course. This is a big company. It shows from the building, the facilities, the service, and the product, the employee. And when I was at university, I was observing this company. And this company was my favorite.
What will you do as an administrative staff?
I'll do a lot of things of keeping record and documentation, which is like make an office agenda, receive phone calls, achieve folder, compiling and collecting document, and prepare accommodation and ticket for work activities, or out visit office.
Do you able to operate a computer without the problems?
I can do. I can operate some program on the computer such as like Microsoft Office, Microsoft Excel, Accurate and more. And I can operate Photoshop too.
Can you work in a team?
Of course, I can work in team. It is impossible car can run without wheel or man behind the wheel.
That's nice parable, Miss Celine.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabrina.
What will you do if you join us in this company with your abilities and your experience?
I have to answer the question of experience. I realized that I didn't have many experience because my life always learn from previous experience. But I will dedicate 100% myself to this company and make this company more bigger than yesterday with my knowledge and skill.
Okay, let's make it over to the last question. How many dollars will you accept in a month?
That's a hard question, Miss Sabrina. Everybody in the world need money because money can buy everything. Everything can buy with money. Also, gold can buy anything. For the first month, it's $700 until $1,000.
What will you do with the money?
I will do a good thing and I will save money in bank for my future and I will invest my money too.
That's a good choice, Miss Celine. Okay, this conversation is over. Please follow the next test tomorrow. I hope you pass the test, Miss Celine.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabrina. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Miss Celine.
You're hired. 2 words everybody loves to hear. But before we hear these words comes the interview. Today's video is part 1 in a series that's all about preparing for a job interview. This is part 1 of a 5-part series on preparing for an interview. Interviewing for a new job can be a huge source of stress and anxiety. And if you're interviewing for a job in a non-native language, the stress can be even higher. In this video, you'll see me interview for a job. Throughout the interview, we'll discuss some of the most common interview questions and how to answer them. You'll also learn some basic information to get you started on creating your own answers to these questions. Let's begin.
Hello, Miss Smith. I'm Tom Kelly. Thanks so much for coming in.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much for meeting with me.
Of course. Did you have any trouble finding the office?
Small talk. Most interviews will start out with a handshake and some small talk. This may include questions about how you're doing, your travel to the interview, the weather, how your weekend went, and more. All you need to do is be polite and friendly. Keep your answers short. You can also feel free to turn the question back to the interviewer. For instance, if the interviewer asks you how your weekend was, you might respond, "It was great. We celebrated my mom's birthday. How was your weekend?" Small talk is used to build a more comfortable environment before the interview begins. It may seem silly, but you can practice small talk on your own by asking yourself simple, easy to answer, non-personal questions. You could also practice with a friend. Here's an example of small talk. How are you doing? I'm great, thank you. And you? How are you doing? I'm doing really well. It's such a nice day out there. It is. It was perfect weather all weekend. It was. Did you do anything interesting over the weekend? Yes, I went to the park with my family for a picnic. That sounds nice. It was. And you? I worked this weekend, but I got a lot done, so that was good. It does feel good to get work done. You can see we haven't said much of importance, but the conversation is friendly and open, and can make two people feel more comfortable in each other's presence.
Hello, Miss Smith. I'm Tom Kelly. Thanks so much for coming in.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much for meeting with me.
Of course. Did you have any trouble finding the office?
Nope, the directions on the website were great.
Good. Would you like some water or coffee before we begin?
I'm okay, thank you.
All right. So, to get started, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Common question. Tell me a little bit about yourself. It's very common for interviewers to simply ask you to tell them about yourself. That can feel overwhelming. But don't worry. What they really want you to focus on is your education and work history. You can also let them know what areas you have a lot of experience in or what your interests are when answering this question. Here are a few different ways to begin your answer. I studied at Harvard University and graduated in 2012 with a degree in business. I've been working at Smith Incorporated for 10 years as a manager. I have 12 years of experience in graphic design. Because of my time at Verizon, I have a lot of experience in providing customer service. If you're preparing for an interview, practice talking about yourself and your work history. Record yourself with a video camera if possible. Make sure it's not too long, maybe around a minute. Go back and listen or watch and write down phrases that worked well to use again. If there was anything you stumbled over or left out, write down some possible phrases you could have used. The next day, do the same exercise. It's important that you don't just write a paragraph and memorize it, but simply practice free talking with some key phrases. The more you practice before the interview, the more comfortable you'll feel answering the questions during the interview.
So, to get started, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I studied at the University of Florida and graduated in 2010 with a master's degree in toy design. After graduation, I was hired at Happy Kids Creative. I've been there for the past 5 years and am currently the director of toy production. During that time, sales have grown steadily. It's been a great experience, but I've run out of room to grow with HKC and I'm looking for new opportunities. I have a lot of experience leading teams in the creative process and finding new markets for the products that we create.
That's great.
To be continued. We'll pick it up from here in the next video in this series. In the next video, we'll go over 3 more common interview questions. How did you hear about this position? What attracted you to our company? And what's your greatest strength? I hope this video on job interviews has been helpful. There's nothing better than walking out of an interview feeling that you were fully prepared. If you have interview-related questions or stories, please post them in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. Are you signed up for my mailing list? If so, you get free weekly emails in your inbox with English videos and lessons, as well as stories of American culture and my own life. Click here or in the description to sign up. That's it, and thanks so much for using Rachel's English. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe. Either click here or in the description. But don't stop there. Keep learning with my American English in Real Life playlist, my Ben Franklin playlist, or my Word of the Week series. Click on me to check out my channel where there are hundreds of great videos. Don't forget to visit my website where you can learn about my premium membership and online courses. You're hired! 2 words everyone loves to hear. But before we hear those words comes the interview. Today's video is part 2 in a series that's all about preparing for a job interview. This is part 2 of a 5-part series on preparing for an interview. Interviewing for a job can be a huge source of stress and anxiety. And if you're interviewing for a job in a non-native language, the stress can be even higher. In this video, you'll see me interview for a job. Throughout the interview, we'll discuss some of the most common interview questions and how you can answer them. You'll also learn some basic information to get you started creating your own answers to these questions. Let's pick up where we left off in the first video.
That's great. Can you tell me how you heard about this position?
Can you tell me how you heard about this position? This is a common question that you'll hear in interviews. It's a chance to share a little bit about the research that you've done in order to learn about the position you're applying for. It's also a chance to share if someone from inside the company let you know about the position. Here are some example responses. I heard about the position from one of your current employees, Bob Green. I heard about the position from my friend Liz Miller, who works in accounting. I saw this position on LinkedIn. I read about the position on your website. Since this is a simple question with a simple answer, think about your answer and practice it out loud before your interview. Record yourself and listen. Are you easy to understand? Are there any words that are challenging for you? Practice these words separately, slowly, thinking about the mouth position. As it becomes more comfortable, speed it up. You're going to want to practice tough words 10, 20, 30 times in a row. Build your muscle memory, so in the interview, it will naturally be easier to pronounce.
That's great. Can you tell me how you heard about this position?
Of course. A friend of mine saw the position on LinkedIn and forwarded it to me. So I spent some time on your website learning about the position and the company. I also read an article in Business Weekly about your work that got me really interested.
What attracted you to our company?
Common question. What attracted you to our company? This question gives you the opportunity to share what you know about the company and why you would like to work there. Some ways to begin your response include the following. Notice that most of the responses show that you have a strong feeling about what you learned. This will give the interviewer more information about who you are and what you might bring to the position. I was really impressed with your commitment to renewable energy. I was very excited to learn that you support your research department so strongly. I read that you encourage employees to spend time with each other outside the workplace. And that's something I really appreciate. Again, think about the answer to this question before your interview and practice your responses using recordings and repetition. Even if this question is not asked, the time spent practicing the response will be helpful when you answer other questions during the interview.
What attracted you to our company?
To be honest, what really caught my eye was your focus on growth. I was really impressed with your ambitious goals and the clear plan you have for achieving those goals. I also like the support you provide your employees. I love your continuing education initiatives where you pay for employees to learn new techniques and skill sets. I think that really helps build employee satisfaction and loyalty.
Well, you've obviously done your homework. What would you say is your greatest strength?
Common question. What would you say is your greatest strength? This question gives you the chance to talk about what you do really well as an employee and as a person. You can share what your greatest strength is, then explain how that helps you in your current job or life. For example, my greatest strength is, I find that this is very important when My greatest strength is flexibility. I find that this is very important when I'm working with lots of different people and opinions. To practice answering this question, write down, my greatest strength is blank. Then fill in your strength. Write down how this strength is demonstrated in your life and work. You may come up with several different strengths you want to highlight. That's great. Practice them all. But in the interview, you'll only want to use 1 or 2 answers. Practice answering the questions out loud based on what you wrote down, but don't just memorize written text. Practice speaking freely on these ideas.
What would you say is your greatest strength?
I would say my greatest strength is a combination of enthusiasm and persistence. My work ethic won't let me settle for less than my best. I'm able to persevere through challenges and setbacks without falling into frustration or anger. I've noticed that this tends to keep those around me in good spirits as well, which is a plus.
That's very good.
To be continued. We'll pick up from here in the next video in this series, where we'll talk about some questions that could be tough to answer, talking about setbacks and challenges at work. I hope this video on job interviews has been helpful. There's nothing better than walking out of an interview feeling that you are fully prepared. If you have interview-related questions or stories, please post them in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. Are you signed up for my mailing list? If so, you get a free weekly email in your inbox with English videos and lessons, as well as stories of American culture and my own life. Click here or in the description to sign up. That's it, and thanks so much for using Rachel's English. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe. Either click here or in the description. But don't stop there. Keep learning with my American English in Real Life playlist, my Ben Franklin playlist, or my Word of the Week series. Click on me to check out my channel where there are hundreds of great videos. Don't forget to visit my website where you can learn about my premium membership and online courses.